Merry Christmas Eve. It's Tuesday, the eve before Christmas Eve. Meteorologist David Nazario back in the hot seat with you tonight. Welcome to News 6 Weather at 9:30. It's great to be here with everybody. I hope that you've had a fantastic Tuesday through to this point and you continue to do so. Thanks for staying up late, as a matter of fact, on this Tuesday evening to join me here in the Digital Weather Center to talk all things weather. We've got a really fun show this evening. I will be continuing the Trivia Tuesday Trivia Tuesday tradition. Didn't get tongue-tied there, thank goodness. So thanks so much for tuning in over on News 6 Plus. And if you are available on the News 6 YouTube channel, please make sure your hands are ready, whether it be on a keyboard or on your phone's keyboard. I want you to make sure that when we get into the trivia session of this show, you're ready for all things weather trivia for Central Florida. Tonight's theme is going to be all considered Christmas. We're going to be talking Christmas weather, Christmas phenomena, Christmas historical events, Christmas on Christmas on Christmas. So thank you all so much for tuning in. I cannot believe we are already face first into Christmas time. It feels like just the other day I was talking Halloween and spooky season, let alone the hurricane season and, talking tropics. But here we are. We've got a fantastic show this evening. I hope you guys have had a awesome day and you continue to do so, especially once I depart for this evening and take the Christmas time off. Have a beautiful holiday season. Can just get that out of the way early on. But let's go ahead and start talking what we've got in store for you tonight. So these are your headlines. We've got another 5 to 7 days of warmth ahead of us. A beautiful Florida Christmas coming right at us, both for tomorrow and Christmas Day. Notice I added the word Florida. I wanted to make sure to emphasize that because there are some of us out there, myself included, to tell you the truth, where I kind of wish we did have a bit of a chillier note to the air, especially when we all wake up to unwrap presents and celebrate, embrace our loved ones, and remind ourselves that Jesus is the reason for the season. Not to get too religious with you all, but I am a faithful Christian myself, so just want to put that out there as well into open air, that is the reason for the season. It is the season of giving. And in this case, Mother Nature is grateful enough to give us a wonderful Christmas holiday here with pretty benign and mild weather conditions. But then, just in time for the new year, it looks like we could have not one, but potentially two big-time cold blasts working their way out of Canada, making their way all the way down here to the Sunshine State, possibly adding some rainfall to our forecast and dropping us into near, if not right around freezing air temperatures. Haven't even started to dig into what the wind chill factor could look like, mainly because we are still about a week away from this event unfolding, and our computer models are naturally going to want to accommodate and adjust and continue to fluctuate hour by hour, model run by model run. So we're not going to get too into the weeds on that, but this is what we have in store for us over the next 10 to 14 days. I should say these headlines here pretty much encompass the final stretch, the final countdown to 2026. So let's get you outside. Let's go ahead and take a look at the water vapor satellite together. And if you notice, not much has changed. We still have a big old ridge sitting directly over top the interior portions of the lower 48, driving a pretty powerful storm system into California, areas of the desert southwest, the Four Corners states out there, and you can see an enormous green swath of moisture moving through the Pac Northwest, Idaho, Montana, the front ranges of Wyoming and Colorado. They've got some very busy weather activity out there, and given the orientation, the direction of the jet stream, I would not be surprised if my buddies out the 25th OWS in Tucson are not forecasting for some cross-barrier flow in the Sierra Nevadas and the front range of the Rockies, where we could be seeing what are called downsloping winds. Very excessive gusty winds that can occur in the moment's notice, in the blink of an eye, in the middle of the night, with a setup like this where you have those strong winds perpendicular to the rough terrain out there. Now, here in Central Florida, totally night and day difference. We got no moisture, no bad weather. And in fact, if you look, that ribbon of dry air is still sitting directly over top us and then running parallel, if not directly overhead, the Gulf Coast states from Alabama through to Texas, wrapping back into what looks to be a weak upper low, possibly stuck up underneath our ridge there. That's definitely going to add a little bit of wonkiness to the weather pattern as well. Now, here are your temperatures outside right now, and this is, again, another repetitive thing that we've seen the last several days. These temperatures really haven't moved much. Now, granted, obviously, once the sun had gone down, we started to see them dropping off that usual ebbing and flowing, the diurnal trends that we call it here in meteorology, which just means kind of like Mother Nature, the atmosphere's circadian rhythm. When we wake up in the morning, we naturally get that burst of energy right around 7, 8 o'clock once we get exposed to the sunlight outside. But then this time of night, especially if you're at home, lounging around, it's been a long day, our circadian rhythm tells us it's time to wind down, time to get ready for bed. Same thing with the temperatures. When the sun comes up, you get that daytime heating, a little burst of energy out there. And then as the sun goes down, temperatures they cool off, but they haven't really changed very much, and they're not going to for the next 7 days. These temperatures are pretty much going to reflect our overnight lows through Christmas, the last weekend of 2025, and then even Monday, maybe Tuesday of next week. Next Tuesday could be a little spicy. We're going to be talking about that here in a moment. When you look at our high temperatures across this area, these are our observed values. You can see that ridge is really doing a number on, quote, winter. I use quotes because, well, that doesn't quite look like winter, folks. That looks maybe like an early fall setup, or perhaps even a springtime setup out there across much of the deep south, the southeast, and even up the mid-Atlantic. You can kind of see a little curvature there in West Virginia, western North Carolina there, where you can see the Appalachians are kind of putting a dent in our temperatures. So now this is what has been driving the setup. This is what's been driving the warmth. You can see that subtropical ridge is causing the jet stream to flow over portions of California, the Rockies, up towards Canada, keeping the cold weather at bay. And that high pressure is also acting like a protective blister. You can tell I've watched the original War of the Worlds way back in the day. When I start using terminology like that, they've got a protective blister. That's what the subtropical ridge has been doing for us. It's keeping all of our major weather players and those cold fronts from coming down across our area, let alone pretty much anywhere across the central, southern, or eastern United States. We're in what's called a negative Pacific North American oscillation, with a big old ridge over the eastern half of the country, and then troughing just off the west coast of the United States. That's what that pattern flip we've been mentioning is what's going to occur as we go through Tuesday and Wednesday of next week. We're literally going to take the pattern and flip it backwards. We're going to go to a positive PNA, positive Pacific North American oscillation, with a big old trough reaching its way down from Canada through all the way down to us even, and off the east coast of the United States through the Atlantic. We're probably going to get some of this cold weather in the Bahamas, down towards Cuba, the Yucatan Channel, and some of our neighbors to the south in the Caribbean Sea. Now, because of the orientation of the jet, before we take our first break, we are expecting travel impacts, primarily on the western side of the CONUS. We're going to be seeing the high impact areas from the Seattle area through Oregon, western Oregon, kind of on the windward side of the Sierra, not the Sierras, but the White Mountains out there, or the Cascades, and then through California, all thanks to that atmospheric river and that upper low that's now making its way onshore. The same can be said for Christmas Day. If you've got some last-second travel plans for Christmas Day, I had to do this myself last year, had to come home to make it in time for the show that we had on the 26th. So believe it or not, there's still a lot of traffic and traveling that goes on Christmas Day. Impacts are still going to be confined out west and then back up over the Great Lakes as we slowly but surely start to see the jet make that transition, become a little more aggressive. And you can see the same thing for Friday the 26th, same setup more or less, with the impacts being felt in the western United States and then up over the Midwest, the Great Lakes, extending into the Northeast. So now we come back, what we're going to do is talk very briefly about the cool down, because we all already know it's coming. I've seen it in the chat. We're all tracking that it's there. If you'd like a little bit more information on that, feel free to drop a comment in the comment section down below, or have your questions ready once we wrap up trivia during the third segment of the show. But that's really what I want to get to. I want us to have some fun, hit some trivia tonight, especially since through Christmas in the next 7 days, we're going to be pretty calm, cool, and collected out there. Cool being a relative term. So don't go anywhere, folks. We'll be right back with you here momentarily. All right, welcome back. So I have a question over on YouTube right now from Jennifer Summerlin 7488. She's asking, are we looking at freezing temperatures in Jacksonville with this cold blast that could be coming through next week? And I would say, Jennifer, very doable. Right now, I can't tell you if that's the most likely outcome because our models are naturally going through those traditional fluctuations where one day they're a little colder, then another day they're a little warmer. I noticed that the European model yesterday definitely had northern Florida from Jacksonville, St. Augustine, back towards the west to even some of our viewing area in the Gainesville, Ocala area in the upper 20s in terms of our air temperature, which definitely puts you in the running for seeing 32 degrees or less during the Tuesday or Wednesday morning especially. Today, the Euro trended a little warmer, so that's going to keep going back and forth, which is why I don't want to spend too much time talking specific values, just like back in the hurricane season. Don't want to split hairs with you talking track for a system that hasn't even developed yet. In this case, we haven't even started to see the progression of that front to see how strong it really will be, so we got to give it a little more time. My famous last words for 2025. Now, let's talk Christmas Eve real quick. These are going to be your forecast highs for tomorrow. And notice, once again, in comparison to what we saw observed this afternoon, not a whole lot is going to be changing. The biggest thing, honestly, is we're probably not going to have as excessive of a rip current risk on our East Coast as winds continue to diminish. We're left with a big old dome of warmer air over top of us, and as a result, we will have much calmer wind conditions throughout the day tomorrow and Thursday, but our temperatures are going to remain much of the same. Then for the Santa forecast, as he gets ready to depart the North Pole and hopefully visit all of our kids, maybe bring us a little something special on Christmas Eve if we all go to bed as we're supposed to. I, for one, will definitely be leaving cookies and milk out with my son to make sure that he gets what he wants from Santa Claus this year. We're looking at a low temperature of about 58 degrees across our viewing area, partly cloudy skies, and maybe a little bit of fog out there, as we do still have some leftover humidity hanging out underneath this high pressure, being sandwiched into the lowest levels of our environment. And then finally, for Christmas morning, I'm using this graphic again because, to tell you the truth, I have already went out and got myself some Swiss Miss sugar-free hot cocoa just for the occasion. I can't wait to be sipping some hot cocoa and marshmallows on Christmas morning. It's going to be a good time, everybody. We've got some very comfortable temperatures forecast for Central Florida. Low to mid-50s as we get ready to wake up. And if you have kids, I know for certain y'all are going to be waking up between 3, 4 in the morning. My brother and I used to do it to my mom and dad back in the day when it was Christmas time. And I know my son probably tomorrow is going to be waking us up early to get ready to open his presents. So definitely recommend getting some hot cocoa, get a little sugar rush going, or maybe at least hit the coffee. But definitely going to be a warm, and or I should say a cool and cozy Christmas morning. I'm very excited. And then we got to watch the change. So watch the pattern flip here as we see what the jet stream does. Look at that enormous trough. And the GFS, I will admit, has been trending a little bit colder than the Euro has. And you can actually see that it looks like the GFS is finally catching on to that secondary push of colder air that may come down. And I'm going to be looking in this general area. Let me go ahead and kill the loop, and I'll take us back to the end there. Watch what happens right there. You get the pen tool out. You see this little kink right there? That is what we call a shortwave trough. It's a smaller trough embedded within this huge one. That's the huge long wave trough, the big picture weather trough. Then we have these little perturbations, these little waves that come through, and they kind of reinforce what goes on in terms of the colder temps. This would be like a secondary cold push that gets ready to prepare to make its way down as we go past New Year's Eve. This is into New Year's Eve. And we're looking at another dose of cold weather trying to come down just in time for New Year's Day as we flip the calendars, or I should say toss the old calendars away and bust out the 2026 iterations, which I can't believe we're already talking 2026. And when you look at the surface pressures, I thought this was very impressive. So watch what happens up near Billings, Montana, Wyoming, and the Dakotas. Look at what happens as we move through time. Look at that massive push of polar high pressure. See those deep shades? I'm talking deep shades of blue coming down across the upper tier United States and just coming down like a lava flow all the way across the heart of the nation And then finally replacing where our subtropical high pressure has been sitting for the longest time, blanketing us with cold temperatures from Texas, the desert Southwest, all the way through to the eastern half of the United States. And that's going to be arriving by Tuesday morning. It looks like the front's going to be rocking through during the day on Monday, not for us, but just in general, Monday and through Tuesday morning. That's when we're going to have that come down. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and do a quick little Q&A right now before we take our next break. So this way we can go ahead and talk trivia. I was going to say tropics. Whoops. Almost was going to say tropics. It's just the force of the habit there. Melissa Riley asks, WKMG weather app said it's foggy. I don't see any fog where I am at New Smyrna Beach unless it's foggy near the beach. It's probably foggy near the beach because we're starting to see the winds calm down, and we typically start to see some sea fog. If we're stable over the inland areas, you'll typically get a little bit of that coastal fog as a result. All right, I'm not seeing any other questions, so I'm going to go ahead and hit another 3-minute break, and then when we come back, like I said, get those fingers warmed up, get on those keyboards, get ready, because we're going to rock into some trivia together. I'm excited. I got some fun questions for you all. I wish I could bring up the Who Wants to Be a Millionaire background music just to add some tension and some fun atmosphere, the pun intended, to you all, but unfortunately, for copyright purposes, better to be safe than sorry. So don't go anywhere. Grab another snack, refresh your drink, get comfortable. We're going to rock through some trivia as soon as we get back, and then we'll close out the show, folks. I'll be right back with you momentarily. Okay, cue that cue that Who Wants to Be a Millionaire soundtrack for the last couple minutes we have together with each other tonight. I'm going to go ahead and rock into some trivia. So, I hope you're ready. We're just going to jump right in here, okay? So, This is your first question, everybody, and I'm not too sure exactly how Jonathan does it, but regardless, this is how we're going to roll with it. So, true or false? It has never snowed in Florida on Christmas Day. True or false? I'll give you about maybe 10, 15 seconds to blast something into the chat, and then we'll go ahead and answer. Kimberly Couch, thank you very much for the kind words as well. She says, thank you both, David and Jonathan, for your good work, humor, and charm. Merry Christmas to you and your family. We sincerely appreciate it. But all right, in 3, 2, 1, Jennifer Summerlin got it. This is, in fact, false. We have had a white Christmas down here in Central Florida before, and it happened in December of 1989, where we had a historic snow event come across the Central Florida area and actually doused the Orlando area with snow. So we have, in fact, had a white Christmas in this area before. That kind of took me by surprise, to tell you the truth, as well. But then again, if it could snow in the desert, it can definitely snow in Central Florida. All right. Next question. This is going to be an easy one. We're going to call this a warm-up question. What's a common high temp for Christmas Day in Central Florida? The 30s, the 50s, the 70s, or the 90s? Dare I say, if we have 90-degree temperatures here in Central Florida on Christmas, something's broken. Something's definitely broken. So what do y'all got? What do y'all got? Let's fire away. Fire away. We've got about 2 more minutes in the show. I want to get through all these questions. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Melissa Riley got the answer. Yes, it is, in fact, C, the 70s. So we're going to be right where we typically should be here in the Sunshine State this Christmas. We're going to be in those 70-degree temperatures, albeit average, we're talking, would be lower 70s, not upper 70s, but we're still in that same general ballpark. So a Florida white Christmas is more likely to be caused by blank instead of snow. A hurricane. Why wouldn't it be snow? Fog, or rain? What do you all think? Let's go ahead and get those questions in the chat now. And I know that there's a bit of a delay, as a matter of fact. I should say, when it comes to YouTube, there is that bit of a stream lag. So I'll give you a little bit longer. I'll try to stretch out as much as I can. We've got about a minute or two left in show. But let's go ahead and try to fire away. Is it A, a hurricane, B, why wouldn't it be snow, C, fog, or D, rain? In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The answer is, in fact, fog. So it's interesting that Melissa Riley brought up that in New Smyrna Beach, the app is saying there could be some fog lurking out there. Sounds like we have that Florida white Christmas phenomena trying to take shape out there. All right, here we go. When temperatures drop into the 40s on Christmas, many Floridians will A, stay home, B, break out the heavy coats, C, crank up that heater, or D, all of the above. This one's another easy one. I'll go ahead and give it to you as a freebie. Many Floridians will typically do all of the above, maybe even yourself included at home. Now, for the next question, what winter phenomena is most likely to occur in Florida around Christmas time? Blizzard, ice storms, frost, or snow drifts? This is going to be another kind of easy one. It would take quite a bit to get a blizzard, albeit we technically almost saw blizzard conditions in northern Florida last winter time. Definitely won't be looking at an ice storm anytime soon, albeit that is something that could still happen for our northern viewers like Jacksonville, St. Augustine, or the Panhandle. Frost is going to be the big one here. Frost is going to be the big one. Now, finally, last but certainly not least, which of these statements about hurricanes and Christmas in Florida is true? Hurricanes commonly hit around Christmas. Florida has never had a winter cane. A hurricane hitting would be extremely rare. Or we've been doing it all wrong. Hurricanes are, in fact, the strongest in December. What do you all think? Kimberly Couch, good call with the patchy frost. I'm glad. Now, what do you think is the answer here? Give you about 10, 9, 8. Y'all ever watch the space shuttle take off back in the day? That's what comes to mind when I start counting down like that. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Golding Furdy got it. A hurricane hitting would be extremely rare. It would be letter C. And then this one, I'm just going to give it to you very quickly before we wrap up, because this is something I think we'll have to worry about next winter. And I'll talk about that at a later date and time once we get past the new year with some changes I'm seeing. But which statement about Florida tornadoes near Christmas is true? Technically, we do see plenty of tornadoes during the winter and the springtime. A deadly tornado has struck Central Florida on Christmas Day in the past, and we've had other tornado outbreaks during the winter season, particularly beneath an El Nino. And it looks exactly like the direction that we're heading in for this time next year. But like I said, we'll talk way more about that as we get a little closer in time. I love to do some preseasonal outlooks, so I'll have those rolling out as we go over the next several weeks together. But hey, I got to get rolling. Guys, it's been a fantastic time getting to sit down, talk weather with you all. God bless. Have a Merry, Merry Christmas. And if I don't see you for a little while, I do hope that you and your loved ones have a fantastic new year as well. It's always a pleasure to sit down and talk weather with everybody. Enjoy the weather while you can, because that cold blast is on its way, but don't let it bring you down. Stay positive, stay happy, stay good, stay healthy. Have fun out there, everybody. I will be thinking of all of you as I'm away from the office over the next few days, celebrating with friends and family, and I hope that you can do the same. But until next time, this is the Digital Weather Center signing out.